So their interests are aligned. It's in Russia's interest for Iran to remain in power, which is why these times are so volatile.
They are honed in on the fact that this is a war of ideas, it's a spiritual war, and they're fighting it.
And it's important to have an optimism right now because we're on the verge of very scary times.
Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred. You should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. This week, so much has happened. We have Iranian front is really coming alive. Like, we see a lot of things happening. We see U.S. Seeming to get involved. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Russian embassy being evacuated here in Israel. What does that signal? I mean, that's actually a really big deal. That would actually give me the view that something is shifting. And there's a reason why all the Russians would want to be leaving Israel. We'll talk about it. We're also talking about the protest that's happening in Iran as things really seem to be toppling. It seems like we're in the process of. A lot of questions whether it will work or whether or not this will be successful or not. Lots to talk about. Internal things here in Israel as well. But let's kick it off, guys, with the...
Can I kick it off with this video? Because I think this is really significant.
Yes.
There's a million videos we could watch about the protests in Iran. But there's one video on X where Iranian officials are telling a crowd of university students to chant, "Death to America, death to Israel," and this is their response. Watch this. So for those of you who are listening,
that was kind of funny, actually.
The officials are leading the crowd in a chant of "Death to America, death to Israel," and the responding chant is "Death to Palestine." This is happening in Iran right now, which is just crazy.
Why are they saying that? How are they? Because you'd think that they would say something different, but they're putting it directly. How did they know the context?
I'll give you my quick theory, and then interested to hear you guys jump in. I think the Iranian people is finally waking up to the fact that their leaders and their governments focusing so specifically for so many years on destruction of Israel and America has now led to the Iranian people's demise, more or less, right? No water, no food in Iran now. They're living in poverty and their country's falling apart, and they're realizing it's because their leaders have led them in years and years and years of their only goal in life is to destroy Israel and America.
I mean, you think about it, Iran is literally falling apart. Its military has been devastated by Israel. Its nuclear sites are destroyed. The scientists have all been assassinated. There's no water. There's electrical outages. There's mass protests in the street now. Their currency has been devalued 60%. I mean, the whole thing is insane, and all their proxies are falling apart.
Right.
Hezbollah is castrated after the beeper operation. The Houthis are practically gone, literally. The Hamas is devastated. And now Venezuela has been captured. So Iran's stronghold over everything, their entire axis is falling apart. And people are saying, what is this about? This was all to destroy Israel. And Israel is emerging like a lion, and they're siding and aligning with the side of good for the first time.
You know, I didn't realize it, but the Venezuela situation, how connected they were to Iran. I would have never even thought of Venezuela as a proxy of Iran, but sure enough, we see that the U.S. and all that's just happened there, they were hitting a very strategic asset of Iran, $3 billion something in 2023, went back and forth with between Iran and
trade and commerce.
And trade and commerce.
Well, I think last week we mentioned on the show, we were talking about how Netanyahu was very obvious. Like, Trump was very obviously his meetings in the U.S. was a little bit more than normal because he flew him to Mar-a-Lago, spent like a couple days together. Bibi was the only foreign leader invited to the New Year's Eve party. Like, they were, and Bibi and Trump came out from that on a very united front, telling the media we're aligned 100%. Like, there was no, nothing between them at all. And then within 2 days, the operation in Venezuela happened, and the U.S. goes in and take them out. So there could be very good speculation that Israel and the United States did this in coordination with each other, for sure.
I think that's what makes so many people mad.
Question is, what other proxies does Iran have left? I mean, we have Russia now evacuating their embassy, reportedly evacuating their embassy from Israel, including all their families. There's reports that the Russian army is evacuating the staff of the Russian embassy along with their families in Israel and returning them to Russia. They've taken multiple flights out of Israel to Russia in the past couple of days here.
What do you make of that?
Well, though my question was going to be, is Russia considered a proxy of Iran, or is Iran considered a proxy of Russia?
I think it's the wrong binary. I don't think it's how many proxies does Iran have. I think Trump is seeing things in a clear way, that there's the allies and the Axis. You know, there's two sides here. And so Venezuela and Iran and Russia and China, their interests are aligned. And so they're together. Who is whose proxy? They have their interests. So their interests are aligned. It's in Russia's interest for Iran to remain in power, which is why these times are so volatile, why they could go in any moment, the entire world. I feel like we all sense that. In any moment, the entire world could go totally off on a different trajectory like that, right? And so Russia is just sending cargo ship after cargo ship after cargo ship to Iran, and why that may be why they're pulling their people, their embassies out, because they recognize that Israel is being forced to make a decision now. They're rearming Iran. So either Israel is going to preemptively strike, as they said that they would do, or not, but they're hedging their bets.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I just want to add that I think that there's an axis of evil, let's say, and there's the side of good. And we can, Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela, I get it. But I think to go one step deeper, there are two battles that are raging in the world right now. One is a physical battle, an economic battle, and that's Russia, that's, China. And then there's a spiritual battle. There's a war of ideas, and that really stems from the Islamic jihadic head of the snake, which is Iran. But they're really two battlefronts, and America's kind of dealing with both of them. But the truth is, America knows how to deal with physical challenges. It knows how to deal with economic challenges. The spiritual battle, I don't know if America really knows how to handle. It doesn't really know how to identify it. It just sees it as, one side against the other side. But underneath that, there are different agendas and different reasons why those lines are aligning. But right now in New York City, they've just declared Muslim Heritage Month. They started lighting up Did you see the pictures of all of the
we can show some
icons? The iconic places in New York are lit up in green. The Moazzin is now going off in New York City, downtown Manhattan.
With the Moazzin is the
Muslim call to prayer is now blasting throughout the streets of Manhattan. People aren't recognizing, that's another front to this war. And America has invited that to their largest, most powerful city in the country.
What do you think the world looks at that as? Because we were just talking about the different axes, like we have the axis and allies. Well, does this show weakness? Does this show fracture within our strong, the front? We have Israel, America. Who else is on this axis? I mean, we have parts of Europe maybe still trying to hold on to it, but they've already been fractured.
Somaliland.
Yeah, look at this.
Micronesia.
You're asking who's
always voting for Israel.
You're asking who's on the axis of
I'm saying is
good.
This showing weakness, because on the forefront you could see
Denmark, right?
A lot of these people, these countries like China, specifically, even Iran and the Arab countries, you see them playing a long game. You don't see them acting like the American-style quick results. And that's what kind of frightens me, because if you look at the view that we see right now, we see Israel and U.S. leading big time. You see that's where the action's at. You see America, boom, going in and taking Venezuela. You see Israel inserting into, Iran to calm the storm. What you don't see is what is going on in Russia and what is going on in China, and what are they doing with Iran, and what are these proxies? How are they connected? That's kind of behind the scenes, and we don't see that view. Well, to me, that's what's more concerning, and what's going on. I don't know.
We'll get back to the podcast in just a second, but whether you've been to Israel or are dreaming of making the trip one day, you will absolutely love I Am Israel, the Believer's Guide to the Rebirth of the Promised Land. Showcasing over 550 stunning photographs, illustrated maps, and powerful stories, this gorgeous hardcover coffee table book will take you on a visual journey through the land of the Bible and unveil the inspiring story of Israel in a way that will make your spirit soar. Through this book, you'll explore the epic regions of Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the coastlands, and the Galilee. You'll meet Jewish pioneers who are returning to their ancient homeland, just as the Bible foretold. Discover stories of Christian heroes who played a pivotal role in the reestablishment of the nation of Israel, and learn about the feasts of the Lord, from the Passover to the Feast of Tabernacles, and see how they're celebrated in Israel. This vibrant, hardbound coffee table book is the perfect way to introduce anyone to the miracle of Israel. And for people with children or grandchildren, it can be a great way to teach them about the reality of the Bible. I had the privilege to help write sections of this book, and I can personally testify it is a product you will love. Order your copy today at theisraelguys.store or click the link in the description below. Now, back to the podcast.
Well, there is a long game that's being played. A report just came out now that the foreign funding to American universities, so Germany's funding a few billion and different countries are funding American universities. The number one funder of American universities from outside the country is Qatar. That, by definition, is a long game. They've been funding universities. They've been buying off influencers. They've been bribing politicians, and because they realize that it's a war of ideas. They realize it's a spiritual battle. And a spiritual battle, it's not like there's in and out, I'll take their oil. It's like, no, I have to influence the culture. I have to influence the ideology. I have to really get into the hearts and minds of people. And that really is a war that's being waged right now.
Well, and you look at also China. We're mentioning two big people that play the long game. That is their tactic. How do we end up with the call to prayer in New York blaring throughout, certain area? Where was it?
Manhattan.
Blaring in Manhattan. Well, how is that happening? That was a long game by billions of dollars of slowly but surely breaking down what was known as American before is now known in New York. The funding and the economic capital of the world now has a call to prayer going off. How did that happen? Well, I think it's
not
directly
really called
connected
a
to
prayer,
this, but
but a
my point
Muslim
is,
mayor who's perfectly fine with it, and
China's
the
in the top of this
governor
list as
of
well.
New York lauding it, like the governor of New York coming out.
how did he get there? Obvious funding connection. Luke, my point is that China's in this top list as well.
Have you seen it was like a prayer celebration where they went out into the streets of Times Square and they just shut down all the streets, and there was this huge Islamic prayer session that happened in the streets. They don't do that in Saudi Arabia. They don't go out into the streets and pray in public and shut down streets. They have their mosques and they're praying there.
Really
Only in New York, they're doing it as a display of dominance because they are now spiritually dominating New York.
Right, and it's important to see, you were talking, Jeremy, about this list of Qatar's contributions to American universities. What was it, Yale, 2.3 billion? I don't remember the numbers, but billions of dollars.
$6.6 billion.
Yeah, I can't help but to hear Tucker Carlson like, APAC. Everybody's talking about APAC. APAC is such unbelievably small potatoes compared to this. But if you think about the sinister duplicity of Qatar with their jihadist worldview, pumping all of this money into these universities to propagate this far-left woke mind virus of transgenderism and the emasculation of American men and American fighters on the one hand, and then on the other hand, coming in with the actual jihad dominating with Muslim masculinity values. It's literally coming in on both sides to cut the head off the entire West, and they're just eating it up.
I want to say something about Qatar because this is really interesting. Obviously, like anybody with common sense knows Qatar is not a good allied player here, even though reports say they're going to be one of the 15 countries on the council that's supposed to govern Gaza that reportedly Trump is going to announce next week. But you have Qatar, who hosted Hamas, allowed Hamas to be headquartered in Qatar for years and years. They are Al Jazeera, which is a massive worldwide media network, is owned by and funded by Qatar. You have Qatar. I just saw a clip. I didn't put it in the notes, but I saw a clip of a government official in Qatar admitting that journalists around the world are on their payroll and have slowly made their way into like government positions and significant leadership positions in countries around the world. Qatar does not have like good interests here, and they're funding universities in America to the tune of $6.6 billion. At the same time, you have people like Tucker Carlson, who just comes out of Qatar. He's, I'm buying a home in Qatar next week. It's my favorite.
I'm a free American, and it's my right.
It's my favorite country. You know, why can you be mad about Qatar? That's just such a great country. And I don't know if we've ever talked about this, and I'm curious because if we ever put the word Qatar in the titles of our videos on YouTube or in the thumbnail, it immediately gets squashed. And now our team kind of knew this, like in the algorithm, but we never had any proof of it. Josh was talking to a friend of ours who we probably can't even name, I would think, but a very good source who said they actually have proof that the word and the topic of Qatar is squashed in social media algorithms, specifically
if it's in a negative light.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. They have actual evidence and proof that
hundreds
this is
of billions
happening.
of dollars
So
being-
Qatar is like paying journalists. They're hosting Hamas. They're paying universities in America, and anybody that tries to come against them, they are paying to have that squashed on the internet.
Can I just read a prophecy that I think is quite relevant here? Okay, this is it says, from whence the name Yishmael, right? Ishmael, the father of the Arabs in the jihad, which means God will hear, Yishmael. It says, you must name him Yishmael from Genesis 16:11. And why was he called that? Because in the future, God will hear the cry of his people regarding the Ishmaelites and what they are doing to them in the land in the end of days. Therefore, he was called Ishmael, as it says, God will hear and answer them. Meaning that what is happening right now from Qatar and from the jihad, it seems like the jihad is more powerful and louder and more effective than ever. This is all leading somewhere. It's all kindling a flame that will wake us up. And that's why I think a big part of our show is exactly that message, is the message of not just what is happening, but why is it happening? We need to wake up as a people and understand that we are, on some level, a people. We used to think, oh, you're Christians, we're Jews. There's something deeper happening that is connecting us on a fundamental spiritual level, that we're under God together. And we need to wake up in that capacity and figure that out. That's a big part of what we're doing here.
Yeah, there was a real turning point and a mistake. I mean, the jihad came onto the scene at 9/11. And then all of a sudden it started, like the slogans happened. Oh, it's Islamophobia. Islam is a religion of peace. Instead of recognizing that within Islam, there are just some whack job, psychopathic, killing, murderous people. Now there's the UAE, there's the United Arab Emirates, there's people that have joined the Abraham Accords, there's Morocco. It's not like smashing all of Islam, but it was recognizing that within Islam, there's real danger. And instead, it was like ignoring that idea and just saying, yes, Islam is a religion of peace, and sort of putting your head in the sand. And now we turn around and it's like, whoa, Israel and America are being surrounded by, bought off by a jihadic world domination force that wants to take over the world.
You know,
Just
Luke, I was going to
follow
say is that is done. It's interesting because it's not natural that people would go, oh, sign me up. I want that. That needs to be, I want that guy as my neighbor. Who in New York would think that that's a great idea? They're not. It's not even natural. It's not coming.
Can I just read
what
you
are they doing?
just to prove this, to prove the point? I'm going to read the direct quote from the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. She, on her Twitter account, she says, the resilience, compassion, and contributions of Muslim communities helps make our state stronger. Tonight, landmarks across the state are lit green, we could show these pictures, as New York celebrates Muslim American Heritage Month.
Wait, say that again? How is that even connected?
Muslim American Heritage Month. Exactly. That's kind of what I want to know.
Yeah, also, where's Muslim America? And just another ADD comment. Mamdani, where was he inaugurated? Where he swore on the Quran? In a tunnel.
Really?
He was inaugurated
creepy.
deep in a subway tunnel.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like what is he trying
Obvious connection to Gaza.
to me,
To me.
to most
I
people,
didn't even-
it's like, why would he choose out of all things
On the Quran as well.
on the Quran in a tunnel? Like he's not
It's very
exactly
strange, ceremony.
Yeah,
like,
That sounds like conspiracy to me. That's legit. That's
Oh,
I saw the video.
This is not a conspiracy.
Oh, yeah,
This
you can watch the video of his
He's
inauguration.
serious.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm hearing this, but I guess I'm behind.
He
the times
even
a little bit.
referenced like where he was at. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, there's no
YouTube
question
Shorts
about
right
that.
there.
He's saying. I mean,
And I saw
come
these
on, any
ultra-
normal person would say that's in like connection with giving support. To
Yeah, the
Hamas.
ultra-Orthodox Jews were like, no, we think it's good that because he's going to go out of his way to prove that he's not, anti-Semitic, and he's going to really help us in our agenda. And there's sort of delusional type of thinking that is
He might as
already
well have
being
just said it.
exposed. Yeah,
This is in solidarity with the Gaza Hamas fighters.
right.
He might as well just have said it.
See,
right?
I think the fact that it happened in New York City is really telling. And the reason why America isn't equipped to deal with this spiritual battle is because America is split spiritually. It's like two countries that are at war with themselves. There are people that love the Bible, that love the values, that love God. And there are people that are saying, what? I'm a transgender, liberal, progressive atheist. I want nothing to do with that. And New York City is run predominantly by the Democrats. They're run predominantly by the secular progressives. And they're the ones that are inviting during the Muslim Heritage Month because they don't have the spiritual kalim, the tools to even decipher what's a real enemy and what's a friend. And you can see that right here by the governor. It's just unbelievable.
The other fascinating point is that so you have the natural things that are happening as we're talking about, but you also have this thing that's making these things seem like they have mass support. And this is the other thing that this that was uncovered. We don't have all the full information on this yet, so we can't like fully lay out. Okay, this is where the details are. But there are bots, and these bots, and that's just common information. Hundreds of millions of these things that are trying to, and they're by dollar bills that are being created. You know, these huge hubs in these nations all around the world where they have these things, and they're swaying public opinion by people that aren't even real. And that's, I think adding to these things. Everybody knows that now.
I think everybody's known that, but no one's known how to prove it. You had a conversation of somebody that can actually prove it. They're not ready to come out publicly yet, but I hope we can.
Obvious.
Yeah.
You could go do this kind of stuff. You can create a false name and do something online. Well, the enemies have used that now for years and years and years and have created some more than 100 million, something like there's in mass. You go on, it's easy to prove even online when somebody has more likes than they have views. Well, what does that make any sense? You know, you go on some of this stuff and it doesn't, you're like, this is insane. Well, there is an element of this in our social media world that's not connected to real human beings. It's connected to countries trying to sway certain opinions.
Well, they're winning. And we saw that during the Gaza war, there were real people in real protests supporting the Hamas.
That's right.
We see real influencers that are influencing their followers to hate Israel, to rat on the Jews. It's whatever they're doing, they're attacking it from so many different fronts. Yeah. They're really playing a long game. The academia, the media, bots, I mean, they're attacking it from everywhere because they are honed in on the fact that this is a war of ideas. It's a spiritual war, and they're fighting it.
But I get strengthened by that. I'm encouraged by that. When you say they're winning, I like to hear that because on the superficial outside, there's no real God in the world perspective, meaning survival of the fittest. They're winning, okay? But when you look, there's a reason that it has to be that Israel, Somaliland, Micronesia, it's not by a coincidence that it's called Micronesia.
Yeah.
That it's micro. It's so tiny, and that's a manifestation of the fact that we are going to be overwhelmingly outnumbered in the end.
I always wanted to create a T-shirt that says, Israel, don't worry, Micronesia's got your back. Something.
Right. No, but the fact is, because that is when we are the strongest, when the greatest victories and redemptions and salvations have happened to the Jewish people throughout history. It's when we're so overwhelmingly outnumbered that we have no rational chance. Then it's only when we have that arrogance. We're like, look at our technology and our satellites, and that things start getting really bad for us, like October 7th. But I think that was a necessary humbling of us as a nation that has brought us low and prepared us to be raised up, but hopefully with the right motivations, understanding the true source of our strength.
I think you're alluding to something here that we didn't touch up on at first when we talked about the escalations happening in Iran now, and the U.S. or the Russian embassy being pulled out. We didn't say what are we thinking is going to happen. We're talking about why would they? Well, the fact of the matter is if Russia's pulling out, there is a speculation that Iran is preparing a strike,
or that if Israel is very closely tracking what's going on, and if Israel knows if and when Iran would strike, and they would preempt that. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham went on, I think it was U.S. News Network, I can't remember which one, saying that Trump would target Khamenei if he keeps killing his people. And then there's a Haaretz headline this week, I think it was yesterday, Israel hinting at preemptive strike on Iran if it sees indication of threats. I remember seeing a date and I can't remember where, but it was within a couple of weeks from now of like if Israel, they probably have a red line. If Iran goes past that, then they're going to preemptively strike Iran. There's also, I don't know if you guys saw the videos, but like the U.S. is sending a lot of military aircraft into the U.K. right now. So there's definitely things moving and shaking. And what's happening inside Iran, I saw somebody on Twitter they said, I'm calling it right now. This is the fall of Iran. It's happening. There's no turning back. Now, the people of Iran, or the antithesis of the Ayatollahs, have taken over at least 2 Iranian cities now. They have toppled the Soleimani statue in Iran. They're renaming the streets. Maybe I can play this video. They're renaming streets to President Trump Street. You can see them printing out street signs and covering up the street signs in Iran, renaming them President Trump streets. Obviously, we already saw the video of them refusing to chant death to Israel and death to America anymore. So it feels like Iran's losing control. They're also resorting to, opening fire, killing protesters. Somebody reported them starting to use chemical weapons. I don't think that's verified, but feels like they're getting very scared.
The only reason why that came out is because there's a picture of somebody that's in a full chemical war suit with a big mask and fully covered on top of a government vehicle, or
military
vehicle. So supposedly 34 people have been killed, 2,000 have been detained in the prisons, and things are rapidly kind of.
But I mean, we'll play videos of the B-roll. Like, we're talking look at this video, tens of thousands of people marching in Iran now. This is just one video in particular, but all over Iran, tens of thousands of people, not afraid. I can't imagine they're being shot at and attacked and beaten and dragged into the prisons. And seems like there's no turning back.
I think that if you have one eye opened and you're able to look at reality and read the prophets of Israel, you realize that we are approaching a significant turning point in human history. The redemption is coming. The end of days is quite near. And it's amazing that Iran is specifically the center stage here. 2,500 years ago, there was a king named Cyrus, and he was the first one after the destruction of the first temple that freed the Jews, helped us reclaim the land of Israel, and helped us build a temple in Jerusalem. And now, 2,500 years later, Israel is being tasked with the opportunity to free the Iranian people. I think it's like a perfect close circle that will be a full revolution.
I just had this crazy thought. What if Trump does the same thing to Iran that he just did to Venezuela?
Well, I don't think you're the only one thinking that.
No, but I'm saying
the Ayatollah is thinking that.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying people that have all said that Trump is the Cyrus, to your point here, if he does that and then begins to, give some support to Israel from
Israel
this position.
was on the way to take out the Ayatollah, and Trump told them to turn back around. I'm wondering if he's regretting that now. Was that the right move? Was that the wrong move? How does he see that? We could have chopped the head off the snake, and for whatever reason, Israel bowed down to Trump, and we sort of pushed things off.
Or he did a Trump move and said, I want that job.
What do you mean?
Trump
wanted
said,
the credit.
I need to do that.
Oh, well, but he didn't.
No, yet. I mean, I want to hear what Ari has to say about this, because literally this is Ari's biggest point on every show. You've talked about this for weeks.
Well,
I want
to hear that, but it does feel like something has changed with Trump and his administration, just in the last week. And it's very unknown what that is, but it feels like something has changed.
Well, I think something is changing in the world. Trump is an older guy. He's in his late 70s. Yeah. He's not changing. Okay, we barely change. Forget, at that age you were wired how you are. So it's rational to say he's aware of events that are happening in the world that are changing, and that is eliciting a different course of action from him. He's realizing that there are certain alignments that need to happen, and he has a gut, intuitive sense of what America needs to do. But yeah, for me, I look back at I'm watching right now. I usually wouldn't plug something like this, but I'm just impressed by it. It's called House of David.
Yeah, I've heard about it, yeah.
Yeah,
I just finished watching it. Yeah.
Did you really? Season 1 or 2?
The second one.
The second one, right? So I saw the first couple episodes of season 2. I'm really pretty impressed. Yeah. They do a few things that are just creative license or whatever.
Right.
But overall, I'm impressed, and I'm consumed with that tweet. We played it on one of the shows. I played it definitely on our fellowship, where Trump says, I told Bibi he was on the way with 12 fighter jets on the way to go decapitate Iran with the final blow. And I said, turn around, and he turned around. And to me, that is just the exact parallel where Saul didn't cut the head off Agag as Samuel the prophet told him to. Was he going to fear God, or was he going to fear man? And Bibi Netanyahu, Benjamin, from the tribe of Benjamin, he's a righteous, I think he's a good leader of Israel, okay, but he's not the son of David. And this is all leading us to that place of bringing that about. It says here in the prophecy.
We'll get back to the podcast in just a second. But guys, time is running out to sign up for our next Heartland Experience trip. The dates are March 16th through the 25th. And this trip is filling up very fast. We have a lot of people already signed up. It's one of our most popular trips to Israel. You can join the Israel guys on a 10-day tour, but it's not a tour. It's an experience focused on Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. And it's focused on going off the beaten path, getting past the tour bus windows and going to the real sites, Israel's biblical heartland, Shiloh, Alon Moreh, Hebron, Cave of the Patriarchs, Jerusalem, the Temple Mount. You'll get the chance to volunteer and serve in places. You'll get to meet the heroes and the pioneers of Judea and Samaria up close. I'm telling you, this is an experience you do not get on any other tour to Israel. It's the only one of its kind. Heartland Experience, March 16th through 25th. You can sign up now at serveisrael.com or click the link in the description below. And now back to the podcast.
I like bringing the prophecies. I know it's a lot, but I also hear people appreciate that because it's an important perspective to put things into line. It says that the Arab world shall in the future stir up major wars in the world, and Edom, the west, will mass against them and fight against them, once on the sea, once on dry land, and once near Jerusalem. They will employ great force against each other, and the Holy Land will not be given over to Edom, to the west. Right? And then what does Ezekiel say? I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my holy name that has been desecrated among the nations. He says, as you are scattered around the nations, they say, how great can the God of Israel be that his people is scattered among the nations? The exile, the diaspora is a desecration. Right? He says, I will sanctify my great name among the nations, which you have desecrated amongst them. And then the nations will know that I am the Lord, says God, when I will be sanctified through you before their eyes. For I will take you from among the nations and gather you from all the countries and bring you into your own land. And that's what I see happening right here. Everything that's happening around the world, it feels like right now, the world is just being drenched in kerosene. The whole world is drenched in kerosene, and all it takes is one little match, and we all feel it, and the whole thing is going to go up in flames. Right? And it says, Israel shall be a flame, and Edom shall be the straw, right? I'm trying to remember which book of the prophets that's in. But anyways.
Obadiah.
Very nice.
There you go.
Very nice.
Has already killed the gnat. The
Yeah,
eternal gnat.
It would have made it all worth it.
I think that is the alignment. That's what we're here for, is not just to give. We're not a news thing. We're just not telling you what's going on in the world. We're telling you what's going on in the world with purpose, to align it with what says in the book. What do the prophets say would happen? That way we can inspire people. This is not just you listen to the news too much, you're just going to be, okay, what can we do about this anyway? We're just a part of a scene that's just unfolding. We can't do anything. No, but the prophets of Israel tell us that there's something to do about it.
And it's important for our own hearts, for our own health, for our own spiritual and physical health, because fear causes cortisol release. It's unhealthy. And why is it unhealthy? Because there's an element of idolatry to it. Fear is saying something should happen, may happen, that shouldn't happen. But when you say, no, God is orchestrating everything for the best. He is with us. He's leading us somewhere. Then that could put you at ease and give you an optimism. And it's important to have an optimism right now, because we're on the verge of very scary times. Scary times are going to happen. There's going to be an attack, and American Jewry right now is being poised where that's why I don't feel anger or hatred towards Candace or Tucker or these mass amounts of thought leaders and idea people that the Overton window is shattered and they're saying anti-Israel, Jew-hating things, because God is putting the spirit in their hearts. Perhaps on some level they're saying, Hineni, I'm here, use me for this dark and evil message. Okay, fine. But in the end of the day, when Laban woke up that morning with a spirit towards Jacob of resentment and anger that he didn't have yesterday, God put that spirit on him for a reason, because it was time for Jacob to go home. And that's where we're at right now. Then that's where we're at in the Torah portion.
Well, I think the same way. You said that Trump is old, so he's not going to change, but I feel like a new spirit has come upon Trump. Something different has happened. We haven't seen him go into other people's countries, kidnap their president. We just heard a report that Trump is pulling the United States out of 66 international organizations. 31 of those organizations are connected to the United Nations. He's doing powerful moves right now that we haven't seen before. I don't know if he's fundamentally changing his neural plasticity, but he is being inspired to act in a new way right now, and that's pretty obvious.
And also, when you look back, what happened there? There was the Tower of Babel, right? Was the first globalist project, right? And it seemed nice. There was unity there. But when there is a unity without a godly moral foundation, that is evil and it is destined to crumble and fall. And right now I feel like there seemed to be a globalist movement happening in the world. It seemed like everyone was sort of coming together with the same ideas. And now I think Trump is just pulled the foundational blocks from that illusion of the Tower of Babel, of the globalist unity. And he's saying the UN, it doesn't serve our interests. So what does that mean for the UN? The United Nations without America? What is that? He's like,
I feel
it's
like
not
he
united
withdrew
anyways.
from every UN organization without withdrawing from the UN itself,
Which could be the next move.
which could mean he's withdrawn from the United
Right,
Nations.
I think probably the way the conversation went is he's like, I'm drawing, no UN, I'm withdrawing. And his people are like,
Yeah, I
please,
mean,
Mr. President, don't do that.
literally,
don't do that.
it's
He's
like-
fine, but I'm withdrawing from everything within it. Or
he
something
withdrew
like that.
from UN Conference on Trade and Development, UN Democracy Fund, UN Energy, UN Oceans, UN Water, UN University, and like the list goes on and on and on. Like, what is there
there
left?
was a UN
Right.
university. I mean, like a lot of this stuff you like, and what is UN water anyway?
Right.
Like what?
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess, and obviously he's correct. It obviously didn't serve American purpose. So
I have a feeling somebody in his administration told him that he couldn't, like, it would be too much to withdraw from the UN. So he's like, okay,
I'll
just withdraw from every organization within the UN, and we'll leave it at that. I'm curious, maybe kind of back to your point, Jeremy, about prophecy in Iran. If maybe we could be, I don't know if we could see this go either way or if Iran has a choice. But if you look back biblically, Iran has two different stories with Israel, right? And you reference this. First, Iran tried to destroy, or Persia, right, tried to destroy the Jewish people. And then later on, you have Cyrus helping to rebuild Jerusalem and the temple. Right now, for decades, you've seen Iran trying to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. But right now, you have the Iranian people rising up against that. And I don't know if Trump is a representation of Cyrus, or maybe we'll see a new leader in Iran arise. But it's interesting to think about that maybe Iran, the people of Iran, the nation, could have the opposite choice to go against what their government and their country has, gone their mission for decades and actually flip the script. And it sounds far fetched, and I have no idea. Like, I'm not saying it would happen.
What happens if it happened?
But we've seen it happen before.
What happened if that
Right?
that script was flipped, and Iran, Persia began to be a place that didn't
What if
support
Iran?
all the proxies against Israel? They supported.
What if Iran helped
The building
rebuild
up
the
of
third
Israel.
temple?
What does the
Wouldn't
Rebbe
that be
say?
cool?
Are we just making up stuff?
Well,
here?
is it not a Jewish idea though that prophecy can be repeated too?
There's no question. Prophecy is meant for every generation. And the last book affixed to the Hebrew Bible is the Scroll of Esther. And of course, right there, Persia's right at the heart of it. And as they are coming against Israel, something happens, and the nations of the world, because Iran controlled pretty much all of the civilization at that time, it says that the people of the land were mityahadim. They didn't convert to Judaism, but they started to become more biblical. They started to become more Jewish-like. They started adopting more of a Torah lifestyle. And I feel like that is a prophecy without a doubt toward these days, because in order for America and the West to fight this spiritual battle, they're going to have to anchor themselves into something that's more powerful, more rooted. And what is the most rooted? The most rooted is in Judea and Samaria. It's where the Bible happened. And in that way, the nations of the world that are coming against us, within those nations, there will be a new people that rise up, that honor the Torah, that live a more biblical lifestyle, that are quite literally mityahadim. They're becoming more Judean. And so it is a blueprint, no question, for the days that we're living in. It was the last book given to us in the Bible. And what's interesting about that book is God's name isn't mentioned. God's name is hidden. That's Esther, literally means hidden. And so what we're seeing now is like Venezuela's happening, Iran is happening, something in Colombia. Is there something in Colombia happening? Like, it seems as though like things are just moving, but God is the one orchestrating all of this. And if we have the compass, and that's really important. Compass in Hebrew is matzpen. Matzpun, which is pretty much the same word, is your conscience. And every person that follows their matzpun, that follows their conscience, that sees like, oh, this is the side of evil. I see what's happening here. And they're able to just step in the direction of the light, to step in the direction of the good. They will ultimately find themselves rooted in the Tanakh, rooted in the Hebrew Bible.
We expect to see that across. So I think as we talk about really, really hard concepts, it's like it's coupled with this incredible hope that Iran could be a place that aligns with what you just talked about.
I think there's no question. It's just a matter of time. Meaning, if you look at that map right there on the wall, that river that goes all the way pretty much right to Iran. And so like that's the place where we're going to have peace that radiates more peace that helps bring this world together.
You're the most optimistic person I've ever met in my life, Jeremy. But because right now we're actually looking at a third phase of literally Israelis around all of Israel are wondering if we're going to be running back to the shelters. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's
There's
what
no
I
question.
sense. And it's within, I mean, any minute.
I myself have pulled out the sandbags.
You already have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just saw where the IDF has just issued out a whole bunch more weapons to people in Judea and Samaria and throughout Israel.
We don't need the weapons. We need the jawbone of a donkey in the spirit of the
You
Lord.
talked about that last week.
Totally.
That's correct.
Totally. But, you know, I do want to say in the book of Zephaniah, I think it talks about, I think of you guys. I think of our fellowship. I think of so many of the nations. It says, I will leave in your midst a humble and lowly people. They shall take refuge in the name of Hashem. Humble and lowly, not lowly in the sense of like in the negative term, but in the where they're
Humble.
not great in their own eyes without the arrogance and the puffed up. And because there takes a certain amount of humility to do what we're doing here, because there are essentially questions left unanswered. That for us to have true friendship and brotherhood and reconciliation, Christian could say, yeah, but you haven't accepted, our God into your heart. And then, so what? How can we be brothers? And then there's like, you know what? I may not understand all of this. I may not understand what this is all about, but I know that the Spirit of God is here in this nation of Israel and in us coming and supporting them. And so that's what I see happening here. It's in a lot of ways, it's for the sake of sifting out who are the truly humble, godly people that are not just in words, but in action, standing with Israel, and that is who will be there. They'll be.
I think it also takes humility for the nations to actually come and serve the Jewish people in a sense of their role, like you just mentioned, like the prophecies here. Well, the nations, they're not coming to lead the redemption process and unfold. No, that's a calling of the Jewish nation, and for the nations to actually say that, it's actually kind of something you have to humble yourself and say, "Oh, that's not my role."
I don't think anything has happened in history where two religions, one religion. I mean, I'm saying religion because there's, goes to another religion and like,
you're it.
God is with you. Like, what is that?
No,
when is such a thing
But that's
happen?
the role of the nations.
Well, and I think
that's what we're supposed to do.
Jeremy was talking about that. I love that word. It's probably a word that, Christians cannot pronounce for the life of them, the mit yahadim, right? But there's I can guarantee you there's thousands of people watching and listening that were identifying with exactly what you were saying there. And they're going, well, this is what I've felt. And Jeremy just said it, including us. I mean, this is our journey for the last 20 years as well. But I was thinking, I think it's we're probably the only podcast, current events podcast in the world that simultaneously predicts like world global catastrophe and everything's going to blow up while also predicting that like the best days are yet to come and are just around the corner and everything's about to be amazing too, which I think is awesome because that's literally like
it's like the end is near.
A
but it's
picture
gonna
of
be good.
redemption.
It's gonna be
It's
good.
gonna be a
Just
good
hang
ending.
on, right?
No, well, the Zohar, like one of the mystical writings of Judaism, says that toward the end of days, it will be as the egg decays, the chicken grows.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, things are seemingly falling apart now. The world is preparing for war. Russia's evacuating. What's going on? It's like, no. The egg is decaying because something new is going to be born.
One last big story, because we have a little bit more time here, and that is there's a report that President Trump is expected to announce the establishment of the Peace Council next week. And maybe if it happens, we'll definitely talk about it on next week's podcast. That will oversee the rehabilitation process in Gaza as part of launching the second phase of the ceasefire agreement, according to Channel 12 in Israel National News. They're reportedly projecting that this council will be composed of some 15 countries from key states around the world. They're going to oversee the Palestinian technocratic government. It's such a pipe dream. Like there's never going to be a Palestinian technocratic government.
Talk about pipes. They literally just pulled some terrorists that were smuggling through sewer systems, and they really yanked them out of these places all the way in Hadera, Israel. I'm like, you're going to make peace with people that support that kind of thing. And of course, all the Palestinian, so-called, that's what they're doing. That's who they are. That's their whole goal. And so to think that you're going to establish a peace committee that can govern the people that are in those pipes and trying to kill Jews.
Netanyahu came back from Florida with Trump from Mar-a-Lago, and they had an agreement that until Hamas disarms and they turn over the last hostage, the body of I think it was a policeman from October 7th that died, they will not move to the next phase of the peace deal. So like a lot would have to happen in the next week. But I think what's interesting is the countries that may be on this council. You have Britain, Germany, France, Italy, got some nice Western European countries. And then all of a sudden you got Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey. It's just wild to think that like anybody like this could actually come together. Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Turkey, of all people. Turkey, probably the worst, because Turkey is a proxy of Iran.
Which just shows
right?
how successful Qatar has been in infiltrating every aspect of the world. What I also don't understand, there's not one country there from the Abraham Accords. If we're really trying to establish some type of peace in the region and rehabilitate whatever that means in Gaza right now, how can there not be a country that is represented in the Abraham Accords? I mean, I feel like this is just a sham. Hamas are never going to get rid of their weapons. No. That's never going to happen. And so I guess Netanyahu is just sort of like navigating his way through the politics of it all, hoping that Israel will somehow, but is there a plan? Does Netanyahu have something up his sleeve? What is going to be with Gaza? I kept on saying, all right, well, we got to move them from the land. Ari, you didn't agree with that. Do you still not agree with that?
Have you read the comments on that?
That you were not nice to me. That's what it said.
That was, yes.
That was my mom.
Yeah, right.
But I think that I still, until today, don't see any other way. The Torah says that we have to inherit the land. Those that want to wage war against us need to be removed from the Holy Land. I don't know where to put them, but they can't stay in this land.
Syria. What's wrong with Syria? It's right there.
Well, that's, I think, still a part of like biblical Israel. It may be like north of Syria. A little bit.
It could be a phase thing.
But let's just get them out of here.
Yeah, but Ezekiel says, because they misled my people saying peace when there is no peace.
That's right.
That is this peace council. It should be called the peace council with that verse.
There is no peace.
There is no peace.
Peace where there is no peace. And that's what's being said. And it's cynical, and we should know better, and we shouldn't play along with this nonsense. We should see, if anything, the world doesn't respect it. And we think we're getting all these morality brownie points, and all it's doing is causing people to resent us more and more.
Did you guys see that on the same note here? Trump's team with Witkoff and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, they put together a whole thing to present to Trump to get him, along with Saudi Arabia and Oman.
But you know, Kushner's not a part of Trump's administration.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Not at all.
Trump rejected
that was really
it.
clear.
Really cool that he actually rejected it, because it was going to be something where, along with Iran, in order to, some sort of peace thing, and it was going to water down the situation like they constantly are doing with everything. Trump rejected it due to other voices, and Israel was part of that. I thought that was really fascinating. You guys didn't see that?
No, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Hopefully those other voices are like people like Mike Huckabee, maybe
I didn't
former
see Huckabee
ambassador
on the
Dave
list.
Friedman. But there are good, I guess the point is like there are very clear good voices that that do have the ability to speak to Trump. There's the White House Faith Council, right? You have very prominent people there. It just depends on who he's listening to. And I don't, like you guys were saying, I don't know if we're talking about a change of heart with Trump, or this is who he's listening to this week, and we could see a different Trump next week. But it does feel like that something has changed at least a little bit. So,
well, I have some good news that I just read that the CEO of NVIDIA, one of the largest companies in the world, is planning to double the amount of employees that they have in Israel as they're about to build this massive campus focused on chips and AI, from 5,000 to 10,000 employees. And I'm thinking about this massive global company, one of the largest in the world. And there's this war with Iran. Russia's evacuating its embassy. All of the instability that could be in the Middle East with the Gaza and all that's going on. And this very rational, very successful man is saying, I'm investing in Israel. I see them as the future. I see them as very capable. I see them as intelligent. I see them as educated. And he is doubling the size of already one of the largest companies in Israel.
The economy here is doing great. I think that may be a microcosmic analogy of the entire picture. Just the dollar shekel exchange rate. It's
not so great for Americans.
Not so great for Americans, but the shekel Israel, I can't remember in decades. Yeah. I'm not an economist, but I can't remember it being stronger. It's like a 3.1. It's pretty much, that's what the guy said. He said, in your head, you just got to say 3 shekels to the dollar. It used to be 4 shekels to the dollar.
I had that conversation yesterday because, we're dealing with some of those things here. Yeah, for sure. No, I think the stock market, I think the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange has been like over 20% for like the last 2 years. Yeah. It takes a war for the economy, Israel's GDP, to go up, which is just so counterintuitive. But my bet's on Israel for sure. We do... have a little bit more time. I don't know if any of you want to bring out anything from this week's Torah portion. We've had a lot of prophecy today, which I think is
fantastic.
I think it's what people
we need
love.
these days.
People need that clarity. They need to hear from it, like the Torah has to go forth from Israel. I think that's really good. But
so, yeah, I have an idea, and I think it's important, specifically because the rift that's happening within the conservative movement, where there is a strong force that's saying, deny Israel, Muslim Heritage Month from the left wing in New York, like what's going on? And it's undeniable that Pharaoh in Egypt, he thought that the Jews were a threat to Egypt. He claimed that maybe they'll have dual loyalty. Maybe another nation will attack us and the Jews will join the other nation and they'll attack Israel. After the people of Israel, Joseph saved their economy, built their economy, saved their country, saved the world. They did so much. They positioned Egypt as the most powerful empire of the region. And then Vayakam Melech Hadash Paro, there's like a new king that came to Egypt now. And there's two ideas. Either it's a new king or it's the same king. And his views of Israel just shifted because of all the influence of his advisors that were around the area. But what's undeniable, whether it be a new king or a new man with new opinions, is that paranoid delusion caused the enslavement of the Jews, which ultimately caused God to intervene and destroy Egypt. And so he who blesses Israel will be blessed, and he who curses Israel will be cursed. And I just see that the Jews, the largest population of the Jewish people outside the land of Israel is New York. And right now, New York is veering away from Israel. Right. And so I would like to put out this warning to everyone who believes in the Bible, that sees this not as just stories, but as prophecy. It happened to Egypt. It could happen to New York. It could happen to all of America, that if you curse Israel, you will be cursed.
What does that look like if, what happened to Egypt? If you just said, and we're not even going to talk about that, the prophecy says in Jeremiah that you won't even speak about what happened then because what's coming, the Exodus that's coming is going to be so much greater. What does that look like?
Well, no, I'm not sure that that's the prophecy.
Is that the prophecy?
No, I think the prophecy is saying that the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt, the final exodus, the final return, will be so great that no longer will we say, wow, look at that exodus from Egypt, but look at the return of this nation from the four corners of the earth in this miraculous way. You know, so I don't know. We don't need to know
what would happen.
You look in the text, in a moment, just like a new Pharaoh arose, the nation of Egypt went from being a global superpower to being 12 guys. You know, the rest were just, devastated in the sea.
Right.
And so it could happen like that.
There's also an element of measure for measure. You know, in this week's Torah portion, God calls Israel my firstborn. And then how does Egypt end its plague? With the death of their firstborn. And so there's always going to be measure for measure, divine judgment, divine principles, divine justice. And so whatever is meant to be will be. And it really could be that 2,500 years ago, Cyrus, the great king of Iran, freed the Jews. It really could be that Israel will free the Iranian people. We can just see the measure for measure and the justice unfold. And so it's watching prophecy converge into reality here in the land of Israel.
Well, eyes on Israel, eyes on Iran, eyes on New York, maybe, eyes on a lot of places, Russia.
I think just as much as we need to save Iran, we probably need to start thinking about New York as well.
Totally.
Yeah, that's. I would not want to be in New York.
There's no prophecy about that, though,
sure.
so it's a little tough to pull in.
All right, guys. Well, as always, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're following along, and let us know in the comments section what you think about everything today. We had a lot of deep insights, a lot of Torah, so love to hear from you guys. As always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what's happening in the land of Israel. We'll be back very soon here at The Israel.